Hey, how are you? Kumusta po kayo? And thanks for tuning in to another edition of Paul Presents Art. So my name is Paul and I'll be your guide today. And today we're over at the temporary location of Unit 17, Contemporary Art, here in Vancouver, which is of course built on the ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And we're gonna go and enter the gallery and have a look at a suite of textile works by Toronto-based artist Chrysanne Stathacos. So the textile works are all hanging freely from the ceiling, and we're gonna go in momentarily. I hope you enjoy your tour, and let's go inside. Ah, so nice to go inside the gallery, much quieter. This location is on a busy street, and the noise from the traffic can be loud and overwhelming. You'll still hear it from time to time inside the gallery, but hopefully less. Like I mentioned before, this is a temporary location for Unit 17, until about fall 2025, where they plan to move to the new space. As usual, I'm doing a pan of the show. You'll notice the textile works hanging from the ceiling. These are all unique works, 8 works in total, and we'll go through each of them in a little bit. If you're new to the channel, I just want to say that this channel is dedicated to art, exhibitions in contemporary, historical, and outsider art, group shows, art collections, etc. I live in Vancouver, Canada, so most of my videos will be from that region and nearby areas, but I also cover exhibitions as I travel. Let me share a brief bio on the artist. Chrysanne Stathacos is a Canadian-American multidisciplinary artist of Greek heritage. Her work has encompassed print, textile, performance, and conceptual art. Stathacos is heavily influenced with and influenced by feminism, Greek mythology, Eastern spirituality, and Tibetan Buddhism, all of which inform her current artistic practice. We're approaching the first work in the show, which is titled Broken Glass, 2007, printed glass on silk, 119 by 88 centimeters, unique work. While primarily based in Toronto, Canada, Stathacos has been traveling periodically to Greece to mine the vast matriarchal legacy that her family has left her. This archive of objects infuses her work with ancestral legacy and spiritual meaning. The work in the show cover an expansive period from the 1990s to late 2020s. When I first encountered these works hanging from the ceiling, the first thought I had was its relative similarity to a noren, a traditional Japanese fabric divider or curtain with a slit in the middle, often used in doorways or between rooms to serve as a welcoming gesture. Another physical similarity, but with an entirely different purpose, is the shawl, a loose draped item of clothing worn over the shoulders or the head. Depending on how these works are installed, conjures up new meaning for the work, offering a versatility of artistic engagement. The next work is Hair Rings, 1995, printed hair on silk, 152 by 107 centimeters, unique work. This work, and a few like it, shows the artist's interest in printmaking, which the artist has executed onto a variety of traditional and non-traditional media. The circular shape of these printed hair rings remind me of the scrunchies both women and men use to fasten their hair. There are also stains, or what looks like it, on the textile. The biological imprint of our bodies, from hair, sweat, and other bodily stains and fluids, are a recurring theme in her work, which I think references her personal history by infusing the works with genetic markers. I also think it's a form of material ownership. Our smells and scents are generated by our bodily oils, which impregnate anything we wear on our bodies. And these oils stay on the cloth for many years and generations after they've been passed down. The matriarchal line of her family's history is an important influence in her work, as is spirituality and nature. We'll get to that a bit later. Now we're looking at Rose Silk, 2001, printed rose on silk, 89 by 89 centimeters, unique work. You'll note the creases on most, if not all, the works, evidence of being stored for many years. I'm not entirely sure whether an actual rose bush was inked and used as a template to imprint the image onto the silk. If it was, then perhaps a small amount of the plant's genetic material has been imprinted onto the silk as well. In some of the works, there is a shadowing of the left with the right side of the textile, which is akin to the Rorschach test, a projective psychological test where individuals describe what they see in a series of inkblots. What shapes or associations do you see in the work? And what does the rose signify to you? We're now moving into the next work, which is Ivy Love, 1998, lithograph on silk, 178 by 95 centimeters, unique work. This work, in my estimation, tends to look at the connection between the ivy and Greek culture. In Greek mythology, ivy is strongly associated with Dionysus, the god of wine, theater, and revelry. He is often depicted wearing a crown of ivy, and ivy is also prominent, symbol of his power and vitality. Ivy is also linked to the god's frenzied worship and the Maenads, his female followers, who were believed to be possessed by Dionysus. I think this bodes well with Stathakos' interest in her Greek heritage and feminism. Personally, I tend to think of ivy as symbolic of invasive entanglements. With a title like Ivy Love, I can only surmise what that may hint at, perhaps cravings and entanglements, or dare I say social vices, that probe beyond the heteronormative Christian or Catholic sensibilities, behavior that encourages people to engage in aspects of so-called forbidden love. Perhaps it's a bit of a stretch, but Stathakos' experience during the 1990s HIV/AIDS pandemic, where she lost many friends from the disease, is also referenced in her work, either directly or surreptitiously. I turned my video around so that we can also admire the other side of the work, something that we don't often get a chance to see with works installed on the wall. Next, we move on to another work inspired by the rose, titled Rose Face, 1996, photographic print on sari, 208 by 102 centimeters, unique work. This gold bordered textile has at its center a couple of enlarged rose petals with images printed on them. Referred to as the Rose Petal series, there is some history with this work. Using revised printmaking techniques, images of women in relaxed, resting, or perhaps even ecstatic poses were directly printed on rose petals, one image per petal. While small in actual size, the image imprinted on this particular work was enlarged in order for us to see details of the images. The rose has been a versatile material for Stathakos to work with. It's been a medium to directly imprint images on, an ingredient to cook with, and material for installations and performances. For me, this work conjures up an image of the Shroud of Turin, a 14-foot-long linen cloth bearing a faint image of a man believed by many to be Jesus Christ after his crucifixion. In many cultures, the dead are washed and wrapped in cloth, sometimes buried with flowers and aromatic oils, as a ritual of reverence and a life lived. And ritual also has been an integral part of Stathakos' art in performance and site-specific installations. Moving on to the next work is an assemblaged work titled Rose Gloves, 2016, printed lace on linen with gloves and thread, 98 by 148 centimeters, unique work. In a press release by curator Gia Liapi for a show at Toronto's Cooper Gold Gallery in late 2024 to early 2025, the genesis of these rose petal works is well considered, and I quote, "In the early 90s, Chrysanne channeled her feminist frustrations and ambitions into the creation of Anne de Cybelle, placing herself within the genealogy of women artists, taking on another name and persona as an act of defiance and self-protection, as females often rendered vulnerable when using their own voices to confront injustice. Anne de Cybelle introduces a future world that's radically transformed, inviting us to encounter a reality that's flipped on its head from the world's current state." Unquote. The fictive Anne de Cybelle has been the counterpoint toward a feminist reading of her work. This is reinforced by the history of artifacts inherited down the matriarchal line of her family. The gloves in this particular work were her grandmother's. I'm noticing the left and right sides of this work to be mirror images of each other, and on the whole seems to suggest the birthing canal of the female body, even the uterus. Just an observation. We move on to the next piece titled Leaves, 1995, printed leaves, stems, and hair on silk, 145 by 114 centimeters, unique work. This work seems to culminate in a combination of expressions and signifiers, from plant leaves, stems, and hair, to several colorful blobs of things scattered about. This entire scene makes me think of freshwater ponds, an underwater view of flotsam and jetsam scattered about. Little organisms seem to be swimming around in this soup of primordial goo, and perhaps even suggesting the genesis of life millennia ago, after the Earth has sufficiently cooled down and life started to evolve from the most basic of elements. Toward the bottom of the work, there is an anthropomorphic two-limbed being, maybe resembling a frog or tadpole, or perhaps it's just the intersection of two branches of a plant, like a rose bush. Textiles have a traditional association with the body. Looked at from a few feet away, this bodily sense is removed and distanced, but it does allow the viewer to admire the composition of color and abstract forms. Of all the works in the show, I think this is the most abstract, as well as utilitarian, and can be casually worn on the body as a shawl or scarf, attesting to the work's visceral association with the body. And the last work in the show is titled Condom Silk, 1995 to 96, printed condom on silk, 89 by 89 centimeters, unique work. Back in the 90s, Stathacos' life was affected by the HIV/AIDS epidemic. Many of her close friends became ill with the disease, and while some survived, others passed away. In Buddhism, life and death are viewed as a continuous cycle, and one's passing gives way to the birth of other life, both the physical body and spiritual essence of one's being. As for the graphic representation of the composition, the two cross-hatched patterning of the condoms denotes, in my opinion, both life and death. In comic illustration, a pair of cross-hatched X's in place of the eyes indicate death, but the condoms themselves, while appearing used, has the potential for life, and two used condoms cross-hatched together may signify a gay male union that, during the height of the HIV/AIDS crisis, can also denote death. All throughout her life, Stathacos allowed herself the freedom to express and externalize her innermost feelings and interest in spirituality, feminism, and family archaeology through printmaking, collage, performance, and personal rituals. The work in the show allowed for a multiplicity of installation as well as interpretation. What are your thoughts on this body of work? How would you engage with this work based on how it's installed? And perhaps that's a good place to leave things. I hope you enjoyed this tour of Chrysanne Stathacos' work here at Unit 17. If you'd like to share your thoughts, observations, questions, please do so in the comment section below. I'd really appreciate that. Click the like button and be sure to subscribe to the channel. It's free, and as a non-monetized channel, subscribing achieves visibility and creates added awareness of the artist and the gallery. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great day, and I hope art continues to inform your life. Tune in again next time for more art-related videos. Goodbye!